Welcome back to Imperial Wealth's Crypto Chronicle podcast, where we're recording a history book of all the events that have happened in the cryptocurrency industry. We're going to be reporting to you on a weekly basis, so let's head live over to our team right now to discuss all things that have happened in cryptocurrency this week. Welcome back, everyone. Really boring morning in the markets we've had.
It was a really hard day to flip over a page.
Oh, God. Jeez, Bitcoin just had to run from what? Where's it gone from, Mitchell?
20. I think, yesterday, we were 30-odd thousand. Today, high on perp exchanges of 36,000 almost. So good daily $6,000 candle.
Absolutely insane.
It was a good 15 minutes because we're all in the office. I was like, it's like nothing worse than it's like, if you saw that on your own, you would have been like, oh, whoa, what did I just see? Whereas
that's the funny thing is when we had the deleveraging dump from 30,000 to, what was it, 23,500 on perp exchanges, that was really early in the morning. That was like 7:30, 8 a.m. and I'd like rolled out of bed, and usually more often than not I'll do like 30 to 60 minutes at home before I come in. I remember I was just sitting there like by myself and like I was just like watching it, just like whole red candle down in 5 minutes, $1,000, and I was just like, oh my God, what am I watching right now?
I'm not gonna lie, I was sitting there going, oh, everyone's getting a bit giggly from 31 to 32, and then got to 33, 34. I was about to get the fake horse out and start riding around the office.
I remember, I think as soon as it hit 34, I can just hear in the background, and I'll try and mimic the sound of it. It's like Wilbur, and it's just like, yeah.
I did.
Got me out of my chair.
I joked to you guys before. I was sending in live updates to the Trading Academy, and you'll see the timestamp on it was 9:41, 32,000, 9:42, 32,000, 9:43, 34,000. And I was, having a joke that it was the greatest 3 minutes of my life. But
it was good because like you and I haven't seen that for a long time.
Yeah,
like it was. So
lovely. Yeah, I did, and funnily enough, I did say to a good man, Clint, that runs our DeFi course, I said, we're going to have a $10,000 weekly God candle soon enough, and we've already put in $5,000 by Tuesday, so hopefully it's this week, and we've got a few more days to kind of make up some more ground, but I think technically speaking, which we can get into it a bit later, is the weekly and monthly close for October will be, what's the date today? Is it 24th today?
Yeah, Pumptober, by the way.
So, and October's 31 days because Halloween's 30 days?
No, it's 31.
31. So we'll get that next Tuesday. Well, Australian time. Wednesday morning will be our weekly and monthly close next week. So I would say that's the most important close we've probably had in 2 years.
Yeah.
Because if we close above 35,000 or even above, let's just call it 32.3 thousand, then we've officially closed a monthly, weekly and daily candles above high time frame resistance, which has been resistance since 2021.
I have to get some artwork in the office. Long live Pumptober.
I was going to ask who's bringing the champagne for Wednesday. We're in the. All right, that's it. We're all at home for work. We're going to have to share a glass. While, 10 o'clock in the morning.
But anyways, we're not getting too ahead of ourselves here.
Yes, we are.
What are you talking about? Stop stopping the momentum.
No, I've seen it before.
Yeah.
Mate, it was as soon as you went, I'm thinking of doing a short here, and it was like 33, and I was like, no, don't do that.
No. Wait for 35, 36, but. We've got plenty of fundamental news to go through from the last week, but obviously this move's been primarily news-driven, which is what a lot of people think, which I do agree with, but I think the market was primed for a move up. In prior podcasts and chronicles, I'd shown over and over the bullish market structure staying intact, a few other things we can dive into later, but the SEC... three big things have happened across the last week. Obviously, the first one was late last week, was them withdrawing their allegations against the Ripple executives. So they had Brad Garlinghouse and Chris Larson. The XRP one's a funny one because like I couldn't give two shits about XRP really. I think it's a meme coin more than anything, but I do. The good thing about XRP and why I do like to give them credit is it does benefit the industry as a whole.
Paves the way, doesn't it?
Yeah, so like we can always laugh about the price action of XRP and does it really do anything, and Chainlink this and XRP
that. Was my next question, like did it actually do anything in the last 24 hours?
Yeah, no, well, not a heap, but I mean, if you go and check the chart, it's reversed its entire... because, that's the humour behind it, is that the price has been suppressed because of this case for the last few years, and then they've won the case and price is still suppressed. So,
you ready, Mitch? Last 5 days, 5.3%.
Yeah, exactly. So, Yeah, so the way I see it is it's just kind of beneficial for the industry, really, because it shows, the SEC being defeated. They can't just come out and claim this is a security, you're doing this and you're doing that. So I think from that sense, it's been really good for the rest of the market. Not particularly for XRP itself, but and funnily enough, this morning when I got in at whatever time it was, I quickly spun up an article about Grayscale's victory, which got affirmed by the DC Circuit Court of Appeals. And the title of the article, funnily enough, is Bitcoin reaches 31,000. About half an hour later, it was 35,000. So, yeah, that's something that could have definitely helped this morning as well. They've essentially declared the SEC's decision void in that case and said, if you go back to what the case was about, which we've discussed on here, it was about how they've approved futures ETFs, but not, the spot ones, and Grayscale saying, how can you do this? But you don't want to convert ours. So essentially the courts just said, they're right, you're wrong. So we're affirming that, you've lost this case, so you've either got to find another grounds to appeal it, or they've won and it will convert. So I think a lot of buyers or speculative whales and stuff might have got a lot of confidence out of that, first and foremost. And then it wasn't too long after that the NASDAQ clearing firm listed BlackRock's spot Bitcoin ETF, which was large. So me and you had a discussion this morning. It doesn't necessarily mean that it's approved, but it's a great sign of confidence, right?
You wouldn't do it.
Crumb.
Yeah. Well, you wouldn't do it if there wasn't some form of strong suggestion that it was possible.
Yeah, I don't think they ever thought in their own minds they were going to not get this done. BlackRock, I mean, we've run through the stats before. I think it's 575-1 is their track record on ETF approvals.
If we had to put our finger on what's moved the market in this way, it would have to be around this ETF stuff.
Yeah, definitely. I think me and Simon were discussing it yesterday from CoinStash, and maybe even Duncan, but it's kind of like what I said at the start. I said it's definitely helped and it's definitely fueled the market probably quicker, but I do think technically the market was ready for liftoff, but this has only kind of made it happen a little bit quicker.
If there's one day, Mitchell, the technical analysis will give a little bit of credit to the fundamentals, it's today.
Well,
never.
Well, once again, it's an after the fact narrative thing, isn't it? Like you're sitting here saying like, oh, we pumped because of this happened, but you weren't able to say it. Because, and even we're speaking beforehand, right? And we were discussing like, oh, what do we think the ETF approval will do? And then like it'll happen and it dumps, and you'll get all these people that'll say, well, we said, oh, I told you it would dump. Like it's the news that did it. It's the fun. But like if it pumped the other way, you'd say it as well. So
the market has to be positioned for it. But I've got to give ourselves credit. We've been sticking strong to talking about ETFs on nearly every podcast, and there's a reason for it. And here it is.
Finally came to fruition.
Well, I will mention that this probably provided a bit more pressure on the approval of it, but they do have until January 10, 2024. So to reject or approve the amended Bitcoin ETF applications, I believe.
Surely they'll do it before Jan, because like they'll be all on holidays.
That's the deadline.
Yeah.
But
they just want him in the
you do say that, but you'd be surprised about how long Gary would want to drag these things out.
I was going to say, do you think Gary does anything other than just bring things into the courts? He doesn't holiday, mate.
Well, I was going to ask a question before, because it actually, for some reason, a light bulb went on the back of my head. When it comes to the SEC upholding all of this governmental regulation when it comes to Bitcoin and whatnot, do you reckon the government's like, no, we need them to get off our back because we need to sell our Bitcoin? Like, if they went and sold their Bitcoin and then all of a sudden it became...
I'm sure there's a bit of cahoots going on.
There's got to be, right?
Yeah.
To a degree.
Well, we can quickly talk about that because I did do an article that'll be in the Chronicle, and it is about the US government being the largest or one of the largest Bitcoin holders with over 5 billion in BTC now. I wrote this article last week. Could be worth about 6 billion by now.
That's gone up a bit.
But we spoke about this in the past as well. There's always fears of people saying, oh, well, what happens when they dump don't worry, they're not dumping it at 25,000. They're not dumping it at 30,000. They can see what happens with Bitcoin. I promise you they'll be dumping it at a much higher price.
Mate, there's a full-time person that's been hired to chart Bitcoin for the government. Like, they're going to sell it when they get the most for it.
Yeah. Who knows? Maybe Satoshi is the US government anyway.
Probably.
So,
where's the tin at?
But yeah, essentially the article says they store, speculatively in the report say they store around 200,000 BTC, which is about 50,000 more BTC than Michael Saylor, or 40,000.
What do you reckon they store it on? Ledger?
Yeah, they have it in cold hard wallets.
Jeez.
Bit of multi-sig.
They're managed by agencies, the Department of Justice and the IRS. The hardware wallet. It says in the article, but you listeners can read that further on the website or in the Chronicle if they want. Just to finish off the fundamental stuff, seen Binance resume their Euro services, which is really good. Obviously, we've spoken about Binance a fair bit on the podcasts, given the heat that's been on them all year. But I think the good thing about this is now that they've lost PaySafe and found another UK and Euro arm, is that hopefully they can keep pushing their international presence as opposed to their US presence where they get slammed.
100%.
I was going to ask if there's any rumours of them sort of finding even an Australian or Asia sort of way to navigate.
Yeah, I'm not sure because they did lose obviously their fiat partnership with Australia, but I don't think they've recouped another one. So
I wonder if that will come back.
yeah, I hope it does. I really liked using Binance. It was my favourite international exchange to use. I found it really simple and really cheap and really quick. It was like even their convert thing. Like I just remember using exchange back in the day. You'd have to sell it in a unit of USDT. On Binance, you just go to the convert thing, convert your BNB straight to ETH. It was just
refresh my memory. What was it that had them pull out? It was
it was essentially a fiat on ramp.
That's right.
Yeah, and so essentially, I think
they didn't have the support.
Yeah, they didn't have the support, and they said too risky, and then all the banks then pulled. They did the thing with high risk, so then you couldn't deposit.
Yeah, just it's not worth all this mucking around and for how much volume they're putting.
Yeah, they probably got hardly any volume, I imagine. So
well, I'm presuming every Australian was draining their accounts and going into Binance.
Yeah. So it's good that they've done this amongst a ton of regulatory scrutiny, particularly in the US. So it's good to see Binance ticking along. And then Wilbur, your man, SBF.
Give us the latest.
We're in the final phases.
Old Voldemort. He's about to walk free.
Oh, look, it's much as you say that, it's so possible.
Everyone says that, but I'm on Team Mitchell. I think he's going down for a long time.
I couldn't imagine someone that's facing up to 115 years in prison doesn't at least get a couple of years.
Do you reckon?
I'm going to say, let's put wages on it. I'm putting 20.
Ooh. I reckon he goes to jail.
Yeah.
I reckon.
I know. There's no way you can be facing up to 9 different federal charges, 115 years in prison, and all the witnesses and all the accounts of people worked here, just all put it on him.
He may be given a laptop with League of Legends on it in a special cell, but he's going to jail.
Mate, if he can get internet in that, he'll make everyone's money back. He'll be like, what? I didn't steal anything.
I don't know. He was pretty good at losing it all when he was using leverage, so I don't know about making it all back.
Yeah,
I reckon that was some little four-eyed person.
Yeah, maybe.
So that concludes. When's the decision being made?
I'm not too sure how the actual.
They take time to
how these court cases go on for years with these high-profile people.
Yeah.
Well, the case wraps up on the 26th, but then I'm presuming.
Yeah, I think this
that's
is on
the hearings all finished.
Because I think this might be on. I need to confirm, but on a couple of his charges. You know what I mean? And then March next year he has it for why? Do you know what I mean?
Spend the rest of his life in court.
I don't know. Yeah, probably. Better than in jail, but no, hopefully he gets put away because no one likes those actors in this space. But we'll quickly move on to the TA discussion. So it is pretty wild. Last week we were talking about Bitcoin off the fake news pump and we were celebrating at 28,300. So we're currently priced $6,000 higher 7 days later. So I did do this is how wild it is. As of writing, I wrote in here for the Chronicle we were priced at 33,600. So we're 900. We're $1,000 above right now. So, but last week was really good. We made that 10% gain. We followed it up with close to a 12 to 15% gain this morning and this week. You guys will see in the Chronicle that I showed last week and this week, but it was technically you couldn't get much cleaner than the downtrend that we broke and the confluence of all the SMAs being flipped from resistance to support, which was then obviously heavily supported by fundamentals and a lot of spot buying. As a result, the bullish market structure that I sent in every single week of the Crypto Chronicle and podcast rings true and stays well intact. And we also cleared multi-year resistance that I spoke about at the start. I think you'll see from the 2021 lows on the daily, weekly, monthly chart, whatever you want to grab on Bitcoin, you'll see this level in the Chronicle, how it's probably the biggest SR flip besides that $25,000 one that we had prior. But yeah, it's been seriously nice price action for most cryptos across the board. Alts are obviously trying to play a bit of catch up with Bitcoin dominance absolutely rocketing. I mean, we're discussing this morning ETH. The ETH BTC chart is really ugly, and it has been kind of since the top a couple of months ago in July. You know, ETH was 2,100.
Yeah, 22 just.
2,200, and whilst BTC was 31k, and you know, we're at 35,000 Bitcoin, and ETH's at 1,800, so it's quite a disparity.
I'm
And
watching that closely. I think it's going to be interesting.
Well, ETH dominance has stayed very, very stable. USTD has plummeted and looks like everyone's just gone straight into BTC.
Yeah. Because it's interesting because there's a few ways you can look at it, right? Like one way I like to think about it is with this ETF thing, and if you were a smart trader, is you'd be putting all your eggs into BTC, whether you're building limit longs or spot positions, and then you'd actually, to hedge, you'd short ETH. That's what I would see is like not a bad thing, and what could explain a lot of the price action of why ETH has been getting pummeled so hard, because people are trying to hedge out their positions there. Like if it doesn't work out and the market, well, ETH is going to crash so much harder than Bitcoin.
Yeah, if you look at that ETH BTC chart, that would play out well, because you're staying on the bullish notion that the market's going to rise. BTC is still going to outperform Ethereum. So you're catching the divergence there. And
then on the contrary, if we crash, ETH is going to crash a lot harder. So your shorts, whatever, will profit a lot more than the losses you'd make on your beach. So it's just one way of thinking of it. I think a few people would do that.
I think just to finish off that ETH BTC, it's like sitting right at that
support level,
right at the like midpoint where you know, say it's like there's 100% and it's in the 50% middle point, but where it usually trades at. So if that goes down further, I think Bitcoin dominance will rip to that 58%, 60% level. But you know, at that point, I think that's where we want to roll from Bitcoin into Ethereum. That's what I'll be doing.
And just quickly before we finish off the TA stuff, obviously overhead we've got a major golden pocket if you pull from our last peak down to our November low. This aligns with the CME gap. Those that are into TA or Trading Academy members whatnot know what CME gaps are, but these are more often filled than not. So it sits around 36,000. So I wouldn't be surprised if we test that, fill that a bit more, consolidate there. And really locally, that's our greatest resistance. So we either reject or we claim that as support. So, and then to the downside, what I'd like to see is now that we've flipped that May 2022 highs, which was 32.3 thousand, which was our greatest resistance that we plummeted through this morning. I'd like to see that hold as support now that we've flipped it to support and smashed through it as resistance. So hopefully if we do get pullbacks, it's just to that level, but we're kind of making a new range, right? Like
with claiming those CME gaps, do we usually see like one wick straight into it and out, or do we usually see it come into it and then trade within there for a bit, come back down?
I think it changes, and it really depends on the type of price action, right? So I find the smaller ones when we grind down sometimes, and it also depends on the confluence of them, right? So because there's horizontally and technically other confluences there for resistance, it might be that we grind there for a while, whereas other ones might get filled a lot quicker with wicks. So
without a fully professional opinion, I just have a gut feel that just because how quickly we rallied, and we were talking about there's not that much previous volume at that 32 to 36, I feel like it may be a wick and come down.
Yeah, well, it's a good point because there isn't much. There actually is a fair bit of clear air between here and 40,000, but that's technically speaking. But yeah, you've always got to be weary, don't you? Because when things seem too easy and too right, that's when they go wrong.
Yeah, exactly.
In the market. So
what about 40 to 50?
Though, what
about 40 to 50?
We traded there a fair bit in that start of that 2022.
Yeah,
I remember January, February, March. Whereas that peaked down to 30,000. Like we dropped fast, and then like we're trading up and down, but it wasn't like
we flew through the 30s to the 40s on the way up, like 2019 and onwards. And then on the way down, we flew back down.
Because like I remember there's no structure there, but
there's none.
Because like in May it was like around that 40, 42 sort of K area, and then we dropped down real quick. 20s.
So that's why. Essentially that's why the teleportation from 32.3 to 36 happened this morning, because that May 2022 high was the high of that prior range, and then like you said, that dump from 40 to 32.3 I showed Will before was just like one daily red candle. So as soon as we broke out of that resistance, that was what I was talking about. The trading academy message 433, 34, 35, all in 3 minutes.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And then it rejected from that next level of structure. So there's hardly. So I spoke about ETH this morning with day trading members, and I said if ETH can claim that resistance point that I had at 2200, 2300, you can honestly make an argument it can go to 3500 pretty quickly because it's got the exact same chart. Bitcoin's 32 to 36 is ETH's 2200 to 3500 or whatever. If you go to the chart, you'll just see there's like hardly any structure there. So technically speaking, not too many resistance levels, but of course the market doesn't just simply move up and down like that.
Next week's podcast is going to be interesting.
Yes, it will be. We'll either come back and we'll say...
Mate, right before
tail between the legs, we're back to talking about it.
it's either going to be real miserable or real happy.
I might have to consider flipping cheeseburgers next Tuesday.
I'm done with this.
But yeah, we will just quickly, just to finish off on the TA stuff, sorry, I just wanted to quickly say something, is that Bitcoin dominance is rocketing, like Will said, and it does have a chance now that it's reclaimed the major 382 and multi-year horizontal resistance that it could fly to 57%. So if you are trying to position yourself out there, don't try and get too strung up on alts, because if this does get to 57% and extends further because of ETF approvals and stuff, and you're out there chasing alts, you could be missing a lot of capital by not shifting, into miners or BTC and stuff like that. Sometimes the best strategy is the simplest one. And, if you have conviction in Bitcoin, then put your eggs in that basket. Don't try and do the 1 in a million alt or whatever.
I totally agree. I just think that a lot of people get caught up now and they go, shit, like market's running, Bitcoin's already run.
Yeah.
What alt should I buy? They'll go next. But I think the narrative we need to see here is we need to see the money roll from Bitcoin to ETH.
Yeah.
We'll see that in the ETH BTC chart. That'll start gaining growth again.
Yeah.
Then we can see money roll into alts.
People in this space take BTC for granted because, so for instance, like you hear people at $20,000 US and they go, okay, yeah, I think Bitcoin will go to $100,000, but that's only a 5x. Like I want to get 100, but there's no other financial markets really that you can with such conviction know that you're getting a 5x, a 500% return. If you go to the S&P 500, you're not getting a 500% return in the next 100 years.
It's already risky stuff.
Yeah, so if you've got enough conviction and you understand the market as well, that's why when you structure your portfolio, a lot of it should be in ETH, BTC, blah, 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 before you move into other things. But I did just want to make that comment because people will see charts like Link and Sol, for instance, that are acting a lot differently because of technical structures that they broke out of, and they'll go, okay, I need to find the next one. I'll go for Gala or I'll go for Phantom or whatever. If Bitcoin was to retrace from $36,000 to even $30,000, those alts are dumping 20+%. But yeah, it's just something to note. So, but anyways, with this Bitcoin price explosion, tell us how the miners are, Taylor.
Mate, as per usual, it's looking pretty good. I guess it's a bit different today. Obviously, profitability is looking really, really amazing on a few things. I guess the biggest thing when it comes to BTC at the moment is that difficulty has not made life fun. Bit bleak, but that's kind of to be expected. We always thought that this was going to continue on into the halving. Any cat and their dog that's had an old miner that turned it off is now turning it back on, which is pretty normal when you get into this sort of price range. So I guess at the moment, the best thing is sort of to look towards, okay, how can I set myself up for the next, 2, 4, 5, 6 years, whatever it is. Act now before anything changes. A lot of people sort of go that we talk to, and even new people coming in that have never spoken to us before, I guess, are saying, I'm going to wait. I'm going to wait until we go through the halving to buy miners. Dumbest thing you could say.
Yeah, it's the same. I remember I had the same thinking back in the day. When you don't understand markets and investments or what, your retail thinking is always, I'll wait till it actually goes up and show something before I invest.
Yep.
So
too late. Everyone's doing it. Like this time before the previous bull market was when we were loading up on hardware, getting at the time M20Ss, like 3 grand a miner. As soon as we came into the halving and after, impossible to get new stock.
Well, and that's the thing. And I think a lot of people haven't quite factored in what it's going to look like going through the halving. All right, so I'm going to put you a picture right now. At the moment, there's maybe about 10 miners that everyone's buying, and those are the Ks, XPs, L7s, anything that's like, top 10 profitable machines per se. They're the only machines that are going to be manufactured until January. All right, and probably even December. Once you get to that point, everything is on S21s.
Yeah.
All right, and so everything is going to be based on 2 machines.
Yeah, exactly.
And so demand is going to be sky high and the amount of machines is going to be quite low. And if Bitmain is actually smart and are thinking about it, they're going to hoard machines and make them 15, 20K.
Yeah,
So-
there's always that lull period where they're doing that because the market's running. They don't want to just sell the hardware at that price. So
There's
the only
no
way you
way.
can get miners is secondhand. So hence, if you buy the miners now, you've got a valuable
asset.
in that
Exactly
period
right,
of
yeah.
time. So yeah, definitely what we're doing. Put our biggest order in. We obviously put it in tomorrow. We've locked in the price though, which is good for the S19Ks. Doing about 450 units, which is the biggest we've done in a long time.
It's the biggest I've seen.
Yeah.
Nice. That's lovely. So there's other coins that are popping off with their hash rates and difficulties.
Mate, everything's looking pretty good. Like altcoins, as much as, the scene is growing, I guess the biggest thing when Bitcoin has this run and I guess we're going into a halving is that a lot of hash goes there. So like at the moment when you look at, Script or Cadena or even Casper, for an example, the difficulties aren't jumping.
LTC and Doge, their difficulties have come down.
Yeah, like quite a large amount, like 15, 20%. So it's looking really good in that sense. And the coin value is increasing. So the amount you're able to accumulate is obviously a lot higher. And the rate in which you're able to do it is going to get a lot higher as you go on.
Yeah, because we're seeing that kind of shift in those alts where the difficulty is coming down, but the prices are rising. So
exactly
Dash
right.
is another.
Dash is another one.
Cadena
is a little bit more of a slower burn, but that's just more or less because it's a bit newer.
Yeah.
When it comes to the other ones that are a bit more longer term, e.g. Dash and Script and whatnot, it's a bit more of a slow,
Dash has been around for years, hasn't it? We're one of the original big
It
boys.
was the first proof of stake, I think. Like they were proof of stake at the start. Dash nodes.
It sounds
Not sure, maybe.
no, you are right. Yeah, you're right. I remember that.
Like
now.
and it was so expensive to have. Like you got in, and then I think it was like you had to have like $1 million to like. it was people bought at such a low price, and then it just went up. And the only way you could have it was having like 100,000 Dash. I can't remember what it was.
Yeah.
Yeah, it definitely. Yeah.
Well, mate, they're a great machine now. The D9s, they're hard to get. Like whoever, I'm presuming the foundation would work with Bitmain. They're like, yep, only make 1,000 because you can hardly buy them. So it's good. It's good to look at other machines. No one ever puts all their eggs in one basket. Same thing with TA and anything else, right? You're always happy to mine something else as long as it's something you believe in. So yeah, I think at the moment, if someone's looking at mining, it's a good bet to have a look at pretty much anything and just get yourself ready to go for the next few years.
Yeah.
I'd say our house favourite's the S19K.
Mate, the Ks are unreal.
Yeah, I think they're at like about $5. Like it doesn't sound like a lot, but for a bear market, they're about $5 profit a day at the moment.
And it's mad just because of the profitability ratio. Like at the moment, like I looked at it before, I changed my calculator to today's price, and it's at 40% ratio.
Huge.
Which that's better than nearly anything else.
Yeah, and we say that a bit about the mining, but you like calculating daily profit is the worst way to do it. So if you do look at it at $5 a day, but you're planning on selling your Bitcoin at 60,000, well, then every single day prior to when it reaches 60,000, your daily profit was actually $10 a day. So
yeah,
exactly right.
And Casper not far off, a couple of percent.
Wow, mate, as much as we want to see it get there, it's dawdling, isn't it? So it's definitely there.
Because of what we spoke about earlier, though.
Oh, exactly,
Bitcoin dominance is ripping. We need to see money go into ETH and then into alts first.
And that's the thing. I think everyone will see it in about a week or two, depending what happens. But it's kind of, I guess, positive that the hash rate hasn't skyrocketed.
Yeah,
it's sort of sitting at around 56 petahash, I think it was. So it's not too much from where we were 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
As we always say, you actually want the price suppressed for as long as possible. So there's no reason for manufacturers to go pump out a whole heap of more miners.
Yeah.
Then you want price to all of a sudden rocket and you've already collected all the coins.
Yeah,
and then,
exactly. And like as much, I don't think there's a ton of machines around as well. I think there's a lot of, I think we're starting to see a little bit of that tighten up with Bitmain and manufacturing.
Yeah.
And like Ice River is obviously a lot smaller, so they don't have a huge amount of stock. And it's sort of, I think every month you'll see like 5-10 petahash at most come online.
Yeah.
At most.
Well, that's probably enough for today. We're all a bit exhausted after today. It's taken it out of us.
It feels
in
like
a
it's
good
9
way.
p.m.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It feels like it's 9.
Nah, it's been a very fun day, to be honest. And
Could be a sleepless night tonight, though.
it could. Yeah.
Don't say it now.
Well, the NY opens at 12:30 a.m. So
All right,
see-
I'll
if
mess it up.
anyone's around at 12:30 and wants to chat,
Mate, should we do a live stream?
could definitely do a live stream in the. We actually need to do one soon, so
Mate, imagine if we did that this morning and just everyone like,
Professional traders.
yeah, exactly, yeah.
Very good. All right, we'll be back next week, and we'll see what the prices are at, and looking forward to it.
Awesome. Have a good week, everyone, and let's close Pumptober, I should say. Love very well.
Love it.
Love
Thanks,
it.
guys.
See you next
Thank you.
week.